name is Monique. I'm the head of community at Gusto. This is my second year with Gusto Next. One of the things I love about Gusto Next is it is about community. It is about getting you all together from near and far. There's familiar faces. There was hugs, laughter, all of that yesterday. So I want to welcome you back, right? This was last year. These are some things that I took from last year as well as some other folks. There were 120 attendees. We were able to forge some deep connections and deeper ones as well for folks that were reconnecting. Professional networks were expanded. I met some folks that were kind of like centrally located up in Seattle, Washington. For some reason, there's a lot of accountants up there. I just know about Starbucks. I don't know what's going on up there. Getting that firsthand insights and inspiration from industry leaders and peers, right? There is this beautiful thing about community and connection that when you hear from a peer, it means something different, right? It's different than if you hear it from somebody maybe that you report to or someone that may be a couple levels from you. It's like, yeah, I hear you, but you don't really understand the struggle. I want to hear it from people that are doing it day in and day out, just like I am. And then some dynamic sessions, maybe that was me, maybe you saw some other speakers again this year, that were really about collaboration and innovation, right? I may have some fun things. I do not have Gus. If y'all saw Eddie's presentation, AI, I'm still trying to learn how to adopt that, a little bit scared. But besides me, there were a lot of other folks that enjoyed it. And this quote, I really wanted to share with everyone. Oh, and look, David, you want to stand up? That's you. You're up there, David, right? This is what David said. David said, I had so much fun at Gusto Next last year, and I'm really excited to attend again this year. I left the event even more connected to the Gusto brand because of the people I met and the knowledge I gained, right? So there is a great value for us, Gusties, to be here with you, to have conversation, talk about the things that we're being innovative for, but also making sure that we're solving the pain points that you want and have and need. But then also on you all side, you're able to come and gain something as well. So there's definitely that interchange. So we're here to talk about, right, like the topic is sparking community and connection in a distributed world. And one of the things that I know is really important before you start talking about any topic is having maybe a common understanding, a common definition, because when you hear these words, they mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So I do want to start by talking about what is community. I'm going to put another quote up here. So this is a quote from Brian Salas, who's the head of global innovation for ServiceNow. And Brian says, community is much more than belonging to something. It's about doing something together that makes belonging matter, right? So you probably hear so many different quotes around, right? Diversity, inclusion, equity, belonging, justice, right? But that belonging piece is that feeling. That's that end goal of that you really want folks to feel. And community is able to help you get there, right? But it's about doing something together. So I want to give you all my definition of community, or some things that I want you all to just familiarize yourself with as we're spending some time together. So community, if you were here with me last year, you'll know that I like the phonetic spelling of words because it just looks really cool versus just seeing regular community up there. So up here I have two things, but first I'm going to start talking about what community is specifically when we think about the workplace, right? So that may be within your firms or within the small businesses that are clients of yours, right? So it's a workplace that has dynamic and evolving concept that requires intentional effort to cultivate, right? You have to understand the diverse needs of folks. You have to make sure that you're creating the environment to support your business growth as well as building some of that connection. So shared purpose and common goal. Now, if you see they're together, because if you have a shared purpose, but there's not a common goal, the purpose actually doesn't matter. If you have the same goal, but you don't have a shared purpose, you're also not necessarily doing it the right way. So that's the first step of building community. You want to know what that shared purpose is, and then you want to create that common goal. The next piece is mutual support and collaboration. So again, you're going to see that dualness that has to exist. You can have support, right? I could feel like David, I had his quote up there. Yeah, we're supporting one another. But if we can't work together, if we can't collaborate, then really have we built community? No, we're kind of just like out there. It's like you see somebody with a flat tire and you're like, oh man, I really empathize with them, but I'm not going to go out there and collaborate with them to fix it. So that's really what that is. So I'll describe my community. I'm part of a lot of communities. As Morgan mentioned, one of the communities I'm part of is the Disney community. So all over me right now is Disney things, from tattoos to bracelets to earrings. That is my community. The shared purpose and the common goal is to do as many things that are inspired by Mickey Mouse as many times you can in your life, right? Another community that I'm part of is the Gusto community. If you did not notice, and this was not on purpose, I have shades of kale and guava on my outfit because I am so dedicated to this community, right? And then within Gusto, there's a lot of sub-communities that I'm a part of. So I'm gonna give you all a little anecdote. One of the communities that I'm part of is we have quite a few Black women Gusties, right? I traveled out here with bobby pins. So for anyone that has natural hair, just has hair on their head, they know how important bobby pins are. And I reached out to someone in my community and said, I'm not gonna make it to CVS. I'm tired, can you help me? And she showed up with 2 brand new packs of bobby pins. Now, some of y'all that may not have hair on top of your head, yes, Mike, I'm looking at you, it's okay. You might be like, it's not that big of a deal, but it could be anything. Your community kind of, right, like they look out for you. That's what community is. Now, let's talk about connection, right? Because now what's interesting is you could build a community, but how do you connect folks? How do you actually make folks feel that belonging piece that we heard in that original quote? So connection, right? Now, connection is actually more tied to the relationships and understanding among people. But in order to build connection, that's what you see on the slide. So let's go through what you see. The first is open communication and trust, right? So again, you could be open, but if I don't trust you, I actually may not be as open as I would if I did trust you. Diverse contributions and inclusion. Now, this is one of those things where you may say, well, you know, I've heard these words used interchangeably. If I have different people in the room, I'm doing the thing. I'm making sure folks are there, I'm connecting them. But in reality, if they don't feel included in that conversation, you probably will not be getting the best out of them. You will not be getting the things you need to really enhance your community, right? So we described community, right? Shared purpose, goal, but then the connection then is like, right, like what you need, some of those intrinsic skills, some of those soft skills that you need from folks to build community and connection. So now we're going to talk about how you can create it, right? That's what we're here to discuss today. How do you create community and connection? There's another part in the title, and we're going to get into a little bit later, and that's that distributed world. I'm going to start with a slide that for my Gusties in the audience, they've seen it before. And for all of you, you may be like, okay, I've seen these words somewhere, somehow, and it's the employee life cycle. So that basically is the journey of every person when they join an organization. And that's whether they're a contractor or they're a full-time employee, right? There's always gonna be some type of onboarding, but before that, you have to attract them. What are they attracted to? Why do they want to work with you? And then you wanna keep them there, right? It's expensive to replace people. So you don't wanna just have this churn and burn thing going on. So how do you develop them? How do you engage them? And then they're gonna move on, right? That's just part of the employee life cycle. Now, the reason I have this slide up here is because when we're talking about building in community and connection, there's different ways that you're gonna do that through the phases of the employee life cycle. How you're gonna build community and how you're gonna get folks to get connected won't look the same before they sign their offer letter. And it surely won't look the same when they leave, because guess what? When people leave an organization, there is a part of community and connection. It is basically their review when they leave. What was the community that you created for them? How were they able to be connected? So again, this slide I really want to use as a grounding slide to understand that when we're talking about community and connection, it's through all of these phases. So the question on the first slide was like, how do we do it, right? So it's building with intention. These up here may seem really simple of when we talk about building community connection, but you first have to define your community. Community means a lot of different things. So if you don't know where you're starting, how can you build something for that group of people, right? You're kind of just building maybe what you like, not what the people around you are going to enjoy. So again, we talked about the definition of community, right? Shared purpose, common goals. How are you going to define that? That's that second bullet, right? So if you're stuck on saying, okay, well, my community is the people that work in my firm. That's easy. I know that. But does everyone that's there actually have a shared purpose and common goals? The purpose thing may get a little tricky because, right, like sometimes people's purpose is to pay bills, and that's cool. But there's also got to be something connected to that end product, right? There's got to be that, like, I know that if we do this, this is how we all benefit. It has to be inclusive and equitable, right? Now, we talked a little bit about inclusion in the sense of you could have a very diverse group of folks in the room, or maybe you don't. So then that may be where you need to go back and start and say, what type of community do I actually really want to build? Do I want to build a community of people that think like me, look like me, or from the same places as me? Or do I want to expand that? And I challenge you all to obviously choose the latter. And then equitable, and I want to just make sure that with this word I explain, it's not equal, right? But it's the equal outcomes that we're looking for with equitability, right? It's giving folks what they need to have that equal outcome. And then last but not least is technology, right? You do not have to do it yourself. If you weren't here last year, so my background is accounting, and I grew up in the time, right, like when I went to college, there was no Wi-Fi. So like I grew up in the spreadsheet, right, like doing the balance sheet on paper, like that is, but technology is here and it can be our friend. So how do we leverage that when we say that we want to build community and connection? Now this is the hanger, right? Because it's like, okay, Monique, I get it. Community, connection, boom, check, check. But what about in a distributed world? I don't have maybe the way that we used to build community connection in the past where everyone's together. Everyone can drive an hour, or maybe they live in the same city. So how do I actually do those things you talked about when everyone is not near one another? What does that mean? How do I get folks that I'm looking at through a screen to feel the connection? How do I make them know that they're a part of my community, even if I don't see them all the time? Now, some of you might be like, I'm actually trying to figure that out. My small businesses are trying to figure that out right now because they're already distributed. Or you might be like, Monique, I'm not even trying to go down that road because just trying to get the people that work in the same city with me together is enough. But I want to share something with you all. I'm going to start first with Gusto Global. Now, what I think is interesting, and we talked about this in the employee life cycle, when you onboard folks, it could be a contractor or it could be a full-time employee. And sometimes, right, you bring those contractors on and you eventually may want them to turn into full-time employees. Gusto Global can help you with that. So that's one of those things that you can remove as a barrier. So maybe it's like, I do want to expand, but I don't know how. It seems complicated. It seems confusing. So up here, what you see is the countries in which you can actually have full-time employees, and Gusto can help you do that through Gusto Global. There's over 120 where you can actually bring on contractors. So I think that we know that we're moving into a distributed world. Gusto Global is a suite of tools to help us hire more intentionally and more distributedly. So if you don't believe me, 75% of small businesses plan to increase international employee headcount. So whether they're telling you or not, 1 in 3 in 4 of them, right, or 1 out of 4 are not thinking about this, they're gonna do it. And either gonna do it the right way or the wrong way, right? And I'm saying that from the accounting side, right? And the taxes and the IRS coming after them, and from the community side. There's 2 sides that they're really gonna have to think about. So what I wanna talk about is how Gusto builds community and connection in a distributed world first, and then talk about how you all may be able to do it. So I have some of my friends in the audience with me that help bring this to life, but I wanna introduce you all to Penny in a different form. So for Gusto, we have Gusties throughout the United States and internationally, over 2,500 folks. So we have the same conundrum that small businesses do, no matter if they have 25 or 2,500 folks, of figuring out how do you connect them. So what we decided is we want to make sure that where they are is where we want to connect them. If we have what we call centers of gravity, or basically like hubs, right, where we have a concentration of folks, we want to get them together. We want them to know that they have people that they can connect with nearby. And if they're virtual or if they're remote, we also wanted to get them together. So through this initiative, we were able to have events in 12 cities, including Mexico. and our folks in Turkey A. Why? Because we knew that they should not have to miss out on that opportunity to build community connection just because they weren't near one of where our offices were, right? We brought in this great attraction into our San Francisco office. So how would it feel to be home and see that popping up on your Slack and you weren't invited, or you were not provided that same opportunity to have that experience? We were able to get 20% of our population to come together in person. Now, if you think about the times that we've come out of recently, getting together just in person in and of itself was difficult. So now to do that with people that you've never met, most of these people maybe have never met anyone they worked with in person, right? One of our Gusties said, I never knew so many people that did other things at Gusto lived near me. Sometimes you have to connect the dots when you want to build community and connection. So how do we get there, right? And I thought, I'm telling you these things, and maybe y'all are like, Monique's maybe just talking and maybe it's not real. So I wanted to make sure I provided some pictures of our Gusties getting together in person, right? And Penny, it would not be right if she did not go on the road trip. So she joined them in their city, right? And again, you're gonna see folks throughout the United States and internationally getting together in ways that made community and connection for them. So for some folks, based on where they were located, that meant they want to get together in a backyard. For other folks, they wanted to go bowling. For other folks, they wanted to just go out to eat and do a happy hour. So that's, again, who is our community and who are we building for, right? So we planned with intention. You first have to understand what you're trying to solve, define our community, right? And we were talking about our Gusto community. But then we went a layer down and said that who are like the mini communities throughout Gusto that we have? And then you create moments that matter. Now, I think that moments that matter is one of those phrases that have been popping up for so long once people went remote of like, moments that matter, moments that matter. But what does that mean? That's knowing who your community is to know what moments would matter to them, not what would matter to me. If it was up to me, we would have flew everyone to Orlando, to Disney World, and been there for a week. One, that would have broke the bank. But also, that probably wouldn't have meant that something special to everyone. So we have something called community ambassadors, right? Like they're on the ground. They understand their city. They understand how to connect with those communities. And last, but certainly not least, is effective communication. Because if you're speaking out into just like an abyss, why would anyone show up? How do you get people excited? Do they know that community is important? Do they know that you're striving to bring them together? And then how do you get them excited, right? It's not like, hey, Tuesday, meet me in the lobby because we're going bowling. I know I wouldn't show up, and I love community, but I'd be like, this sounds really weird. I don't think it's gonna be organized. There's probably not gonna be food. But if you tell me, hey, next week, I wanna see you on Tuesday in a month. Why? Well, listen, we have a lot of people coming in for Gusto Next. There's gonna be a happy hour in the atrium. I want you to meet them. I want you to understand how our product impacts their experience. Oh, well now, not only am I gonna show up, but I'm going to get a new outfit because there's gonna be people that have never seen me before, right? So how do you communicate effectively? Now, how can your teams do it, right? Because I talked about Gusto because I think it's important. It's cool to talk about the product that you all use. We care about it, just like all of the things that we're telling you about all day, about your day-to-day. We have to care about those things the same way. So I actually put 3 things up here that are a little bit simple. You might be like, well, Monique, this seems so basic. But it's because I want you to just start with the intention. You all know your communities, right? Now, if you see the sign up here, I have Gusto Next. And I started with conferences. And the reason I'm going to talk about conferences is if you remember the slide about the employee life cycle, there is engage, and there is also progression, right? Like, or development. Gusto Next, or some type of conference, can give you 2 things. Community and connection in the sense of getting to know new people, you know, hanging out, having a good time, but learning. It's important that when you're planning things, and especially when it's a smaller organization, that you get the most that you can out of one activity, right? So if you're gonna pay to fly folks somewhere, you don't want it just to be for chips, salsa, and bowling. You also want folks to learn something. You want them to take something away. You want them to also feel invested in. Company retreats and offsites, right? This again around the intentionality. This doesn't have to happen all the time. This could be an annual kickoff. This could be an end of year wrap up. This could be a significant milestone, moments that matter. And then last, right, like projects, kickoffs, and celebrations. So these are the like very low-hanging fruit, I would say, of things that we normally do, but we may not be connecting the dots of how we can build community and connection for folks through these avenues. So we talked about all these things, but what's the impact, right? It's important to talk about like, well, what does this do, Monique? This is great, this sounds good. So these are the places where it does impact: employee engagement, productivity, innovation, well-being, customer satisfaction, and sales. All of these things are actually impacted by investing in community and connection. Usually the parts of the business that are the, what I say, don't make money teams, people forget about. But they don't actually understand that if you take care of those teams, they actually help your bottom line because you're investing. Now, what type of speech would this be if I didn't have another number slide? Because we need another number slide. So I want to put some metrics up here for y'all. So when we talk about how this impacts, right, like there were 6 things on that previous slide, but here I wanted to zone in on 3 that to me really stood out. So the Economist Intelligence Unit said that productivity increases by 25% by investing in building community and connection. Productivity, right? We see a lot of things that talk about how people don't want to work, they lazy, they quitting in public, in quiet, in the dark. We just want them to show up and do a good job, right? Just investing in them, knowing that you actually want to build with them, can increase productivity. IBM said customer satisfaction goes up 44%. Customers. The end user actually increases their experience simply by investing in your team. And then last, which we all love this part, right? 20% sales increase. This next quote really sums up the impact of investing. Customers will never love a company until the employee loves it first. Let that sink in. If you don't have people working for you, if your small businesses don't have people working for them that don't like the product, that don't love the product, that don't want to use the product, what do you think they're going to say on the phone? Oh yeah, I work at Gusto, but let me tell you, there's a couple other payroll platforms that I would recommend because they're not invested. When we talked about community in the beginning, we talked about shared purpose, common goals. If they're not aligned to that, it's going to translate on the other end of the sale, on the other end of the experience. So you have to make sure that you're investing. So I'm up here, I'm talking. I want to round us up here, and I want to just go through what community and connection is again. Before, I'm going to invite some folks that help me build community and connection at Gusto, talk about what it means to them and why they know it's important for it to be important to you all and the businesses that you support. So, shared purpose and common goal. You gotta have that. If you don't have it, you gotta go back to the drawing board. Maybe you have it in some way, shape, or form, right? Like in your OKRs or your business objectives or your key results for the year. Does everyone know? Is everyone aligned? Mutual support and collaboration. Does everyone wanna work together? Do they know how to work together? Do they know what's expected of them to work together? Is there open communication and trust? Are there always only the same people communicating? Does everyone trust the folks in the room? Not trust you're gonna fix my flat tire, but trust that when we're working on this project together, it's gonna go across the finish line. Diverse contributions and inclusion. You have to have those in the room. If you don't, you're gonna only be solving for one customer. You're only gonna be building for one community, and guess what? That means that you're gonna only have one customer forever. Because they're never gonna be able to think about anybody besides the folks in that room. And I believe everyone wants to scale and grow in some way, shape, or form, right? So how do you make that? Here, you're making connections, you're building your community. Maybe there's folks that you can talk about that with. How do you get there? Now, like I said, I'm doing a lot of talking. I don't do all of this community and connection building at Gusto alone because wouldn't be a good thing, and it would be, again, a trip to Disney World, and Josh is not going to sign off of that, no matter how much I beg and plead. So let me let you all hear from some of our Gusties that help build community and connection.
Community to me is people who want the best for each other, have gifts to offer, and are willing to receive gifts from others.
It's about creating space where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued.
Because when you go somewhere that you are wanted and feel a sense of belonging, you tend to contribute your best self.
Community and connection in the workplace means being supported and connected to the people that you work with.
It's the feeling of belonging where collaboration flows effortlessly and innovation is a collective effort.
Companies are, by definition, communities of people hopefully rowing in the same direction towards a goal.
We really try and prioritize those meaningful connection moments.
That means that whether we are in person, whether we are virtual, we are creating all these amazing ways for our Gusties to connect.
We really look for opportunities, either organically or planned, to spend time together.
We leverage technology like we are doing right now. I might not be in the room with you, but I feel like you feel like we're connected.
Like, these are the moments from team building activities to virtual coffee breaks,
baseball games, or touring a chocolate factory, or different things like that.
It provides opportunities to share experiences, celebrate achievements, and to support one another.
Don't miss an opportunity to celebrate. Like, anything that you can make a silly celebration out of, do it.
Celebrating your successes inside and outside of work, and then also making sure that you're creating an environment where everyone feels included.
It breaks down barriers. It fosters deeper connection and understanding and appreciation of each other's contributions.
Comfort, community, and connection all thrives together.
You can't build a company with a strong culture without community and without people who have connections to each other.
It is intentional that we create this sense of community, this sense of belonging.
When I walk into a room or a virtual meeting, I sense that synergy and mutual respect, and that's when I know that I'm part of something really special.
Give it up for my Gusty friends. Now, you heard from them, right, what it means to them, how they build it, right? So they range from supporting our people team to our affinity groups to our community ambassadors to all of Gusto to create community and connection. So again, diverse perspectives and contributions and inclusion, they help bring it to life. It's not possible for one person to do it alone. So figure out who has passion about community and connection within your organization or within the small and medium businesses, right? Or bring them together. Maybe it's just that they need that energy to get those things flowing. Now, I told y'all one of my communities, okay? So if you don't know, this is Figment. This is the mascot for Epcot. And if you did not know, Epcot actually was built on a dream. And the theme, their song, is One Little Spark. So what I want you all to do, the title of this time together was Sparking Community and Connection in a Distributed World. I want you all to be the spark in your communities and spread it, because it is important. We saw it improves the bottom line, it increases productivity, increases customer satisfaction, well-being, all of the things. So I appreciate you all spending 29 minutes exactly with me today. I look forward to seeing afros, bell bottoms, platform shoes, glasses, peace signs, flowers, all of that this evening. And I am happy to be a part of your community, and I hope we all get to be connected. Thank you.